Welcome, fellow Phoenixes, to the Spiritual Phoenix Podcast, where we make a daily offering to the divine by putting our past on the pyre, searching the smoke for spirituality, turning the ashes into art, adapting isolation into connection, and manifesting mental wellness. I'm your host, Ross Cessna, and I'd like to take a moment and focus on what we're grateful for today. Today, I'm grateful for language and the ability to read. There was a very long time where many people couldn't read, and the quality of my life would be substantially different if I didn't have the ability to read. There's even people in this day and age that still are unable to read and write, and it's not that they're not intelligent people, it's that they haven't had the time and training to learn to do so. There's a whole wealth of information and understanding and personal growth that comes from the ability to read and write and all of those things. I mean, even just to be able to understand what someone is saying is powerful, because then you can gain some insight into a different perspective that you haven't had yet. Joe Rogan at one point said that it's a form of telepathy, where you're understanding my mind because of a different noises that are reverberating from a part of my body. And I always found that that was a fascinating explanation of that. I had never thought of it that way prior. Today I'd like to get into the topic of self-obsession. I have a couple quotes on the matter. Empathy is a tool for building people into groups, for allowing us to function as more than self-obsessed individuals. And that was said by Neil Gaiman. And the next one is, the movement of grace towards gratitude brings us from the package of self-obsessed madness to a spiritual awakening. Now, I'm not going to tell you I'm not self-obsessed. It's something I struggle with. It's something I have struggled with for a large portion of my life. Being ill growing up, I was normally the center of attention. When that ceased to be, I started acting out in negative ways to be the center of attention. Large portions of my mental illness are directly related with me being the center of attention. In psychosis, I quite literally thought I was the savior of the world, as well as someone who gambled away the world to intergalactic quote-unquote demons. I thought that I was on a reality show for celebrities where they were watching my mundane life and looking at every aspect of it, and they knew all my thoughts, secrets, misdeeds. I thought that I was the center of a CIA operation. I really self-importandated myself in my own mind. Today, it's more about when people say things thinking it's directly about me, or when I feel ignored thinking it's about me, or just in general, I tend to think things are about me. And in the reality, most of the time they're not. There's a lot of underlying issues and things going on in other people's lives that's about them. One way I can be less self-obsessed is by putting other people's needs before my own. And I can do that by volunteering. I can do that by not saying things that I want to say. I don't have to say every single thing I think, and I don't need to project my rightness. If I have an opposing opinion, I don't necessarily need to voice it. There was a thing, and I believe it was Plato or Aristotle's filter of truths. The first one, is it true? Is it necessary? And how is it going to benefit me? And a lot of things that I say, I find truth to be relatively subjective. There are some fundamental truths, but many of them can't be told to people. They have to be experienced themselves, I would say, to understand them. And lots of things that people say nowadays as truth, it's other people who have told them those things are true. a lot of things that I have to say, they are, in my opinion, useful, but if I'm telling them to the wrong people who aren't going to find value in them, then it's useless. People would perceive that what I'm doing now is self-obsession, and I'll say that when I started it, I did have the mindset of, I'm going to be huge, I'm going to really enlighten a lot of people, I'm going to help so many people out with all my experiences. But my perception of it's a little bit different now. I may be able to help some people. I wanted to change the world when I started this, but the thing that I remember is people can change the world one person at a time. You don't have to change everybody in the world to be successful. And I don't know that I will be. I mean, I'd like to help people. That's what my life ambition is now, after being such a self-obsessed person for the longest time. There's an inherent trap in doing things for other people when that's your sole focus, though, because then again it feeds that self-obsession. I'm such a wonderful person because of all these things I do for other people, when you can still be an asshole and do things for other people. I'm working towards not giving myself so much credit. Recently I did a painting that I gave away to a silent auction, and someone won it, and I wanted to go up to them and explain what it was, but I asked somebody else's opinion of it, and what they told me is, you don't need to tell them. They will. It obviously resonated with them because they were excited about it, and they've applied their own meaning to it. So regardless of what it means, you don't have to explain it. And the little voice in my head said, yeah, but I want to take the credit for it. Rah. And it's really just like, dude, calm down. It'll be okay. They'll figure it out. You know, and I don't need to tell everybody every little good thing I do. I'm silent about some of the things I do. And the only people that know it are me, the person, and I can't say people in that term, but source energy knows it. It's not necessarily a person or even personified per se. But that's what's important. I mean, I need to do things to deflate myself. I can appreciate myself, but I need to take in mind I'm no worse than the holiest person out there, and I'm no better than the biggest mass murderer out there. I'm on even footing with everybody. We're all human beings. People make mistakes. People have mental diseases. People have sick ways of thinking, in my perspective. I can't say my perspective is 100% right, or that it's for everybody across the board. I'm not that naive. I can respect different opinions and not have to impose mine. I can say that the only thing I know is I know nothing. The more I learn, the less I actually know, is what I'm finding. The things that I do know there are things that hurt people, and they cause mass suffering and pain. Some people will say that that's evil, and I said that evil does exist yesterday, but it might not be as the way that some people understand it. I can't necessarily explain what I mean by that. You'll either understand it or you won't. And I think with that, I'm going to put this episode on the pyre. Please check the links below to all my social media accounts. If you are listening to this, you can watch a video of me talking on YouTube. And if you're watching me talk on YouTube, you can listen to me on iTunes or SoundCloud. I do free tarot readings occasionally, and I'm slowly building up a database so you can select a reading at random choice or just read the most recent reading. A link will be in the description below. If you could please leave a review on iTunes if you like the podcast, as it'll help me reach new listeners. You can contact me via message on Facebook if you have any topics you wish to bring to light. Also, you could potentially be a guest on this show. Ideally, you'll have had a major life obstacle or are going through a major life obstacle that you have a positive philosophy, spiritual experience, or inspirational attitude from. Please take the time to respond to the PodTrack listener survey, as it'll help me understand my audience. Also, if you would like to get paid to write, please click the link below. All you have to do is write 5 sentences in English. And with that, love and light, namaste.